Sean O'Connor's hand shook as he stared at the stack of bills on his kitchen table. The red "Final Notice" stamps seeming to pulse in the dim light of his modest apartment. At 32, he never imagined he'd be a single father working two jobs while trying to keep his 6-year-old daughter Emma's world from falling apart after her mother walked out on them 3 years ago. "Daddy, can I have cereal with bananas?" Emma's voice broke through his financial anxiety, her small frame appearing in the doorway clutching her worn stuffed rabbit. Sean quickly shuffled the bills into a drawer and smiled. "Of course, princess. Let me slice those bananas for you." He moved to the refrigerator, grateful they at least had milk and some fruit. His job as a hospital orderly didn't pay much, and his evening shift as a security guard barely covered the rent, but they were making it work. Barely. "Remember, Mrs. Peterson is picking you up from school today so Daddy can go to his meeting," Sean reminded her as he placed the cereal bowl in front of his daughter. "The one about being a nurse?" Emma asked, spooning cereal into her mouth. "That's right." "If I can get into the program, we'll have a better life," Sean replied, ruffling her blonde curls. The nursing scholarship meeting was his one shot at a real career, a way out of the paycheck-to-paycheck existence they'd been trapped in. After dropping Emma at school, Sean headed to his shift at Memorial Hospital. The long corridors were familiar territory after 4 years of transporting patients, changing linens, and doing whatever was needed. He liked the work helping people made the long hours worthwhile, but the pay wasn't enough to build a future for Emma. "O'Connor, we need you on the 3rd floor," his supervisor called out. "VIP patient situation." Sean nodded and headed to the elevator. Memorial Hospital, rarely had VIPs their small town of Riverdale, wasn't exactly a hotspot for celebrities, or the wealthy but occasionally people from the nearby city of Westlake would come for specialized treatments. When he reached the 3rd floor, he was directed to a private room at the end of the hall. Inside, he found chaos. Medical equipment was scattered across the floor, a chair had been knocked over, and a woman sat curled in the corner of the room, sobbing uncontrollably. "What happened?" Sean whispered to the nurse who had called him. "Stillbirth," she replied quietly. 29 weeks. "The patient is Zara Khoury. Her doctor had to leave for emergency surgery and she lost it. We need help getting her back into bed and cleaning up." Sean's heart sank. During his time at the hospital, he'd seen grief in many forms, but there was something uniquely devastating about the loss of a child before they even had a chance to live. "Where's her family?" Sean asked, surveying the distraught woman. She was striking even in her grief, dark hair falling across her tear-streaked face, her hospital gown askew. "No one. She came in alone, and her emergency contact is overseas. Apparently, she's some big-shot businesswoman who was just passing through town when she went into premature labor." Sean approached Zara carefully, crouching down to her eye level but not touching her. "Miss Khoury, I'm Sean. I'm here to help you back to bed." Her eyes, swollen from crying, focused on him briefly before more tears came. "He's gone," she whispered. "My baby is gone." 3 years ago, Sean had held Emma's mother as she cried after a miscarriage. That loss had been devastating, even though the pregnancy had been unplanned. He couldn't imagine the pain of losing a baby so far along. Before his professional training could kick in, Sean was responding from his heart. "I know," he said softly, "and nothing I say will make that better, but you shouldn't be on the floor. Will you let me help you?" Something in his tone reached her. Zara nodded slightly, allowing Sean to gently help her to her feet and guide her back to the bed. "I'll clean this up," he said to the nurse. "Could you maybe get her some tea and see if there's a grief counselor available?" The nurse seemed relieved someone was taking control of the situation and quickly left. Sean quietly began picking up the items scattered across the floor. "You don't have to do that," Zara said, her voice hoarse. "It's my job," Sean replied. "But more importantly, it's something I can actually do to help, even if it's small." "I was going to name him Nathan," she said suddenly. "After my father." Sean paused his cleaning and looked at her. "That's a good name. I had everything ready. A nursery, tiny clothes, I read all the books." She wasn't really talking to him, more thinking aloud. "I did everything right." Sean set down the supplies he'd gathered and pulled a chair next to her bed. "It's not your fault," he said firmly. Sometimes, sometimes these things just happen. There's nothing you did wrong. How would you know? She asked, a flash of anger cutting through her grief. Sean took a breath. He rarely shared his personal life at work, but this moment called for honesty. My ex and I lost a baby before we had our daughter. Different circumstances, earlier along, but I remember feeling like we must have done something wrong. Like if we just made better choices, it wouldn't have happened. Zara's expression softened slightly. You have a daughter. Sean nodded, a small smile crossing his face. Emma, she's 6, best thing that ever happened to me. Your wife must be happy to have you both, Zara said. It's just Emma and me now. Her mom left when Emma was 3. Before Zara could respond, the nurse returned with tea and a doctor who introduced himself as the on-call obstetrician. Sean excused himself, finished cleaning the room quietly, and then slipped out. Hospital policy dictated that he should have been in and out within minutes, but he'd spent nearly half an hour in Zara's room. His supervisor would probably have something to say about that. To his surprise, as he was leaving for the day, the head nurse stopped him. That was good work with Miss Khoury today, she said. The doctor said she was much calmer after talking with you. Sometimes it's not about the medical care but the human touch. Sean just nodded, thinking about how he was going to be late for his scholarship interview. She asked about you, you know, the nurse continued. Wanted to know who you were. I just did my job, Sean replied, uncomfortable with the attention. Well, sometimes that's all it takes to make a difference. Sean rushed across town, changing from his hospital scrubs to a button-up shirt and slacks in his car. He made it to the interview 5 minutes late, apologizing profusely to the scholarship committee. Despite his preparation, the interview went poorly. He stumbled through his answers, distracted by thoughts of Zara Khoury's grief and his own financial worries. When he left the college administration building, he knew his chance at the nursing scholarship was gone. 2 days later, Sean was changing sheets in room 412 when his supervisor found him. O'Connor, you're requested in the administrative office. Sean's heart sank. Being called to administration usually meant trouble. Had someone complained about him? Was this about the time he'd spent with the Khoury woman, or worse, were they cutting back staff again? I'll finish these sheets first, Sean started to say, but his supervisor shook his head. Now, O'Connor. They said it's important. Sean made his way to the administrative wing, a part of the hospital he rarely visited. The secretary showed him into an office where the hospital director sat alongside a woman in an immaculate business suit. Mr. O'Connor, thank you for joining us, the director said. This is Miss Rachel Winters from the Khoury Foundation. The woman extended her hand. Mr. O'Connor, it's a pleasure to meet you. Khoury Foundation, Sean repeated, shaking her hand automatically. Yes, established by Zara Khoury, CEO of Khoury International. She asked me to find you. Sean blinked in confusion. I don't understand, Miss Winters smiled. Miss Khoury was deeply moved by your kindness during a very difficult time. She's established a nursing scholarship fund at Riverdale Community College, and she would like you to be the first recipient. Sean stared at her, trying to process what he was hearing. A nursing scholarship for me, but I failed that interview. The scholarship is yours if you want it, Miss. Winters continued. Full tuition, books, and a monthly stipend for living expenses while you complete the program. There must be some mistake, Sean said. Miss Khoury doesn't even know me. She knows enough, Miss Winters replied. She said, and I quote, sometimes a moment of kindness reveals more about a person than years of acquaintance. That night, as Sean tucked Emma into bed, he was still in shock. Daddy, why do you keep smiling? Emma asked, clutching her rabbit. Because I think things are going to get better for us, Princess, he replied, kissing her forehead. I'm going to nursing school. Will you still have time to read me stories? Always, Sean promised. That will never change. 3 months later, Sean had settled into his nursing program. The scholarship covered his tuition and provided enough of a stipend that he could quit his security job, giving him more time with Emma. He kept his hospital position, now working part-time hours that accommodated his class schedule. He'd written a thank you letter to Zara Khoury, sending it through the foundation, but hadn't received a reply. He hadn't really expected one. She was apparently a billionaire CEO with companies around the world. Their brief interaction during her tragedy was likely a distant memory for her now. Then one ordinary Tuesday, Sean was checking supply cabinets in the East Wing when he heard a familiar voice at the nurse's station. "I'm looking for someone who works here. Sean O'Connor." Sean rounded the corner to see Zara Khoury standing there, looking completely different from the broken woman he'd met months earlier. She was dressed in a tailored pantsuit, her dark hair swept into an elegant updo, her presence commanding attention from everyone around her. "Miss Khoury." Sean said, surprised. She turned, her face lighting up with recognition. "Sean, I was hoping to find you. Thank you for the scholarship. It's changed everything for us." "I got your letter," she said. "I wanted to thank you in person, but I've been away. Would you have time for a coffee?" "Or is that inappropriate while you're working?" Sean glanced at his watch. "Actually, my shift ends in 20 minutes. "Perfect. I'll wait in the cafeteria." 30 minutes later, Sean found himself sitting across from one of the wealthiest women in the country, sipping mediocre hospital coffee. "How's nursing school?" Zara asked. "Challenging but good," Sean replied. "The scholarship, I can't tell you what it means to me and my daughter." "Emma, right? You mentioned her that day." Sean nodded, surprised she remembered. "Yes, she's the reason I keep going." "I came back to Riverdale for closure," Zara admitted. "I needed to visit the hospital again, face what happened, but I also wanted to see you." "Me? Why?" "Because in my darkest moment, you showed me kindness without agenda. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Everyone wants something from me. Money, influence, connections. You just wanted to help." "Anyone would have done the same," Sean said uncomfortably. Zara laughed softly. "No, they wouldn't. Trust me. I've spent my life surrounded by people who calculate every action based on what they can get in return." They talked for over an hour. Sean learned that Zara had built her technology company from scratch, expanding it into a global enterprise worth billions. She'd recently stepped back from day-to-day operations to focus on her foundation's work. "The stillbirth changed my perspective," she explained. "I'd been so focused on business success that I'd postponed having a family until it was almost too late. When I got pregnant at 38, it felt like a miracle. Losing Nathan made me realize what really matters." "I'm sorry," Sean said sincerely. "It still hurts," Zara admitted, "but I'm channeling that pain into something positive." The foundation is funding maternal health initiatives and supporting grief resources for parents who lose children. As they were saying goodbye, Zara hesitated. "I'll be in town for a few more days. Would you and Emma like to join me for dinner tomorrow? I make a mean mac and cheese." The invitation surprised Sean. "You cook? Don't sound so shocked," Zara laughed. "I wasn't born a CEO. I worked my way through college waiting tables and cooking in diners." Sean found himself saying yes before he could overthink it. The next evening, Sean and Emma arrived at the address. Zara had given them a modest lakeside rental cottage rather than the luxury hotel he'd expected. "Are you sure this is right, Daddy?" Emma asked as they walked up the path to the door. "I think so, Princess," Sean replied, double-checking the address on his phone. Zara opened the door before they could knock, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. "Welcome. You must be Emma," she said, crouching down to the little girl's level. "Your dad has told me so much about you." Emma, usually shy with strangers, smiled. "Are you the lady who's helping Daddy become a nurse?" "That's me," Zara replied. "But tonight I'm just the mac and cheese chef. Do you want to help me put the breadcrumb topping on?" Emma nodded enthusiastically, and Sean watched in amazement as his daughter followed Zara into the kitchen, already chatting about her favorite foods and her school art project. The evening was surprisingly comfortable. Zara had a natural way with Emma, listening attentively to her stories and asking questions that made the little girl feel important. After dinner, while Emma drew pictures at the coffee table, Sean and Zara talked more openly. "This isn't exactly what I pictured for a billionaire's vacation," Sean commented, gesturing to the modest cottage. Zara smiled. "I have homes in New York, Paris, and Tokyo, places with security teams and staff and all the luxury money can buy. But sometimes I need to remember what real life feels like." "And what does real life feel like?" Sean asked. "Like this," she said softly. "Simple meals, Genuine conversation, no one checking their phones for stock prices or trying to impress me. Before they left, Zara surprised them again. I have tickets for the Riverdale Science Museum tomorrow. They have a new dinosaur exhibit. Would you like to join me, Emma? Your dad can come too if he wants. Can we, Daddy, please? Emma begged, bouncing on her toes. Sean hesitated. This was starting to feel like something more than gratitude for his kindness during her crisis. We wouldn't want to impose on your vacation. You wouldn't be, Zara said, meeting his eyes. I'd enjoy the company. That museum visit turned into lunch at a local pizza place, which led to an impromptu stop at an ice cream shop. By the time they parted ways that evening, it felt like they'd known Zara for years. I like your friend, Emma declared as Sean tucked her into bed. She doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby. She's pretty great, isn't she? Sean agreed, realizing he meant it. Over the next week, Zara extended her stay in Riverdale, and they fell into a rhythm of meeting after Sean's classes or shifts. They took Emma to the park, helped her with a school project, and spent a rainy afternoon playing board games at Sean's apartment. Sean kept waiting for Zara to mention returning to her real life, but she seemed in no hurry to leave. Why Riverdale? Sean finally asked one evening when Emma had fallen asleep on Zara's couch during a movie. You could be anywhere in the world right now. Zara was quiet for a moment. After I lost Nathan, I felt completely alone. My board members sent flowers. My assistant arranged the medical care. My wealth smoothed over all the practical difficulties, but no one just sat with me in my pain like you did. I didn't do anything special, Sean insisted. You treated me like a person, not a crisis or an inconvenience or a valuable asset to be managed. Zara moved closer to him on the couch. Do you know how long it's been since someone looked at me and just saw me? Not my money or my company or what I could do for them. Sean felt a pull toward her that he'd been trying to deny. Zara, I know this is complicated, she interrupted. I'm only supposed to be passing through your life, the grateful benefactor who funded your education and then disappeared. But something's happening here, isn't it? Or am I imagining it? You're not imagining it, Sean admitted. But our worlds are completely different, are they? We've spent every day together for a week, and it's felt more real than my life has in years. When she kissed him, it felt both surprising and inevitable. Sean pulled back after a moment, his mind racing. I need to think about Emma. She's already gotten attached to you, and when you leave. What if I didn't leave? Zara asked quietly. What do you mean? I can run my foundation from anywhere. I've been considering establishing a regional office in this area anyway. You can't uproot your life for someone you just met, Sean protested. I'm not proposing marriage, Zara laughed. Just the chance to see where this goes without the pressure of a ticking clock. 2 months later, Zara had rented a house in Riverdale and established a local office of the Khoury Foundation. Her relationship with Sean developed slowly, both of them aware of the stakes. Emma adored Zara, but Sean was careful not to make promises about their future until he was certain. Are you ashamed of me? Zara asked one night after they'd put Emma to bed. You never want to go into the city, meet my colleagues, be seen at functions. Of course not, Sean replied, taking her hand. I'm just aware of how this looks. Poor hospital orderly dates billionaire who's funding his education. People will talk. Let them, Zara said. I don't care what anyone thinks. Easy for you to say. You're Zara Khoury, I'm nobody. Don't ever say that again, Zara said fiercely. You're the man who showed kindness when I was broken. The father who works himself to exhaustion for his daughter. The student excelling in nursing school while still making time to build blanket forts and attend tea parties. Their first real argument came when a tabloid published photos of them shopping together, with the headline, Khoury Billion's fine new toy, billionaire's boy toy half her age. It doesn't matter, Zara insisted when Sean showed her the article. Anyone who knows me knows it's garbage. You're not the one being called a gold digger, Sean snapped. And I'm 32, not some kid. We're only 6 years apart. Since when do you care what strangers think? Since Emma's friends' parents started whispering at school pickup. Since my classmates at nursing school started treating me differently. Since my value became about who I'm dating instead of who I am. The argument ended with Sean storming out, needing space to clear his head. He walked for hours, wrestling with his feelings. He loved Zara, he could admit that now, but he hadn't anticipated how difficult it would be to date someone in her position. When he returned home, he found Zara sitting on his couch, waiting. "I'm sorry," she said before he could speak. "I've been dismissing your concerns because I'm used to ignoring public opinion, but you're right, it affects you and Emma differently." "I overreacted," Sean admitted, sitting beside her. "It just hit me all at once how different our worlds are." "I have an idea," Zara said. "Come work for the foundation. We're establishing a health initiative that needs someone with medical training to help coordinate. It would be a perfect fit for your nursing education." Sean stiffened. "So I can be your employee instead of your charity case." "That's not, I need to make my own way, Zara. I'm grateful for the scholarship, but I can't have my whole life handed to me by you." Zara was quiet for a moment. "You know what I admire most about you? Your integrity, but sometimes pride can look a lot like fear." "What am I afraid of?" Sean challenged. "Being worthy," she said simply. "Of happiness, of love, of good things happening without waiting for the other shoe to drop." Her words hit home. Sean had been bracing for disaster since the day they met, certain that eventually Zara would tire of playing house in a small town with a struggling single father. "I do love you," he said quietly, "but loving you scares me. I keep thinking you'll wake up one day and realize you could have anyone." "I don't want anyone. I want the man who saw me at my worst and still treated me with dignity. The man who values his integrity above comfort. The man who has shown me what real strength looks like." Zara took his hands. "I love you, Sean O'Connor, and I love Emma. Whatever challenges come with that, we'll figure them out together." 6 months later, Sean graduated from the first part of his nursing program with honors. Zara and Emma cheered from the audience as he received his certificate, Emma holding a handmade sign that read, "My dad rocks." That evening, they celebrated at Sean's apartment, now decorated with Emma's artwork and photos of the three of them together. Zara had practically moved in, though she maintained her house for appearances and privacy. "I have something for you," Zara said after Emma had gone to bed. She handed Sean a small box. Inside was a key. "What's this for?" he asked. "A compromise," she replied. "A house, not too big, not too small, in a neighborhood with good schools for Emma, close enough to your work and my foundation office, a place that could be ours if you want it." Sean turned the key over in his hand. "You bought a house without telling me." "I made an offer, contingent on your approval," Zara clarified. "I wanted it to be a surprise, but I would never make that decision without you." "We can look at it tomorrow, and if you don't like it, we'll find something together." Sean smiled. "You know, a year ago I was staring at overdue bills, wondering how I'd keep the lights on. Now I'm dating a woman who casually buys houses. Is that a yes?" "It's a let's go see it together," Sean replied, pulling her close. "But I have a condition." "Name it, I pay my share. Not equally, I know that's not realistic yet, but proportionally, based on what I make, I need to contribute." Zara kissed him. "Deal." The house was perfect, a 4-bedroom craftsman with a large backyard for Emma to play in. Sean insisted on a thorough inspection and negotiation process, determined to participate fully in the purchase, despite Zara's ability to simply write a check. By the time they moved in 2 months later, it felt like a joint accomplishment. On the 1-year anniversary of their meeting, Sean took Zara to dinner at the nicest restaurant in Riverdale, nowhere near the caliber of places she was used to, but meaningful because it was the best he could offer. "I have something for you," he said, sliding a small box across the table. Zara opened it to find a simple silver bracelet with 3 small charms, a stethoscope, a tiny house, and a heart. "It's not diamonds," Sean said apologetically. "It's perfect," Zara replied, immediately putting it on. "I love it because it's from you." Sean took a deep breath. "There's something else." He pulled another, smaller box from his pocket. "I was going to make some grand gesture, but I don't want to wait anymore." Inside was a ring modest by Zara's standards, but it had cost Sean months of careful saving. "I know this is fast," he began. "And I know there are a million complications. The press will have a field day. Your board might question your judgment. My classmates will whisper even more. But I love you, Zara Khoury. I love the woman who cooks dinosaur-shaped pancakes for my daughter, who stays up late helping me study for exams, who never makes me feel less than equal despite having more money than I can comprehend. Zara's eyes filled with tears. Are you asking what I think you're asking? I'm asking if you'll marry me, be Emma's stepmom, build a life with us, not because of what happened that day in the hospital, but because of everything that's happened since. Yes, Zara said without hesitation, 1,000 times yes. They were married 6 months later in a private ceremony with only Emma, a few close friends, and Zara's most trusted colleagues present. Despite their efforts to keep it intimate, the news leaked to the press, resulting in a brief flurry of articles speculating about prenuptial agreements and gold digging. But as the years passed, the narrative changed. Sean completed his nursing degree and went on to specialize in neonatal care, eventually becoming the head nurse of Memorial Hospital's new neonatal intensive care unit funded by the Khoury Foundation, but earned through his own merit and hard work. Zara restructured her business empire to allow her to be present for her family while still driving the foundation's mission. 2 years after their wedding, they welcomed a daughter they named Lily. Emma, now a teenager, doted on her little sister with the same care and attention Zara had always shown her. On the 5th anniversary of that fateful day in the hospital, Sean and Zara returned to Memorial to unveil the Nathan Khoury Memorial Wing, a state-of-the-art maternal and infant care center, designed to support families through both joy and loss. I never expected this life, Sean admitted as they stood together after the ceremony. When I met you, I was just trying to get through each day. And I never expected to find healing and love in the midst of my greatest loss, Zara replied, squeezing his hand. Sometimes the most broken moments lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Mommy, Daddy. 4-year-old Lily ran toward them, followed by Emma carefully watching over her sister. Can we go get ice cream now? You promised. Sean scooped up his younger daughter while Zara wrapped an arm around Emma's shoulders. Together, they walked out of the hospital not as a billionaire and a once struggling father, but as a family built on compassion, respect, and a love that had begun in grief but blossomed into something neither of them could have imagined.